Welcome to Permission to Shift, where I help you release limits, transform fear, and create a life you're excited to live. Today's guest works in an incredibly interesting niche. Donna Cameron works with kindness. Starting off working in nonprofits as an executive consultant, trainer, and volunteer, Donna very quickly noticed the difference kindness made in her interactions with others. She considered that she was generally kind with occasional lapses into bitchiness, but did notice that true kindness was really a step above. So Donna committed to a year of living kindly, during which she got incredibly clear that kindness takes practice, patience, understanding, and more than a little bit of a sense of humor. Her book, A Year of Living Kindly, is now in its 6th print and has won more than a dozen literary awards. It is with great pleasure that I welcome Donna to the show today. Welcome, Donna. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Anna. It's great to be with you. Thanks for inviting me.
So, kindness. How did you get into kindness as your niche?
I've always been drawn to kind people. I think most of us are. And I've always wanted to be a kinder person. And it's not that I was unkind or bitchy, but I think for most of my life, I really settled for being nice. It was safer. I was raised by a mother who always said, be nice, never said be kind. But as I aged, I started seeing the difference kindness makes. I worked with nonprofits throughout my career and saw what kind people do and how you feel around them. And I thought I could do better. So I declared 2015 my year of living kindly, and to sort of hold my feet to the fire so I would keep that resolution, I started a blog and I invited a few friends to follow it, thinking that, if I just let the intention fall by the wayside, it would be pretty visible. And that's really all it took for me to really keep kindness on my radar at all times. And my intention originally was just to see what 1 year of a deep dive into kindness felt like. But within a couple of months, I saw that this really was where I wanted to spend my life. And so my 1 year path has become a lifetime path. By no means have I become a paragon of kindness. I still have slips. I still am oblivious sometimes. But I found kindness to be a really life-changing path for me. And uh, I think it can be for anyone.
That is beautiful. And I'm really curious. You mentioned that there was a difference between kindness and being nice. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, and I think probably for some people it's just a semantic difference. They may view the two as the same, but I really think there's a difference. Nice to me is safe. It's sort of passive. It's doing the expected thing, the courteous thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean you go out of your way for someone. You can still be impatient or judgmental or merely tolerate someone and still be nice. But I think kindness asks a lot more of us. Kindness asks us to, I like the phrase, extend yourself. Go
Ooh.
outside your comfort zone and really do what the moment calls for if you want to live in a kinder world. And kindness requires that we take some risk, because we don't know how our kind action or our kind words might be perceived by the other person. They may misunderstand our intent, or maybe we'll do it clumsily at first, or appear awkward. So there's a lot of risk. It makes us vulnerable to extend kindness, and it also asks that we withhold that judgment and that we seek the best in the person we're interacting with. We really try to connect rather than just, be tolerant.
Mm-hmm. It's really landing when you say it makes you very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, I could feel that. I could really feel that. So how would you say confidence plays into our ability to actually be kind?
Oh, I think it does take confidence, and it takes a lot of courage too, to take that risk, not knowing how it's going to be received by the other person, not knowing, whether you're going to fall flat on your face or something. But it's a risk worth taking, and it also it takes practice. The more we try, the more we do it, the easier it becomes, and it becomes, after a while, it becomes more the default setting when you go into a room or a situation or meet someone. The intent is there to be kind, to find the kindness in the room, and if it's not there, to put some kindness in the room. All those things take practice. Just like anything we want to do well, whether it's play tennis or the piano or something, it takes practice to get good at it.
So let's say for me, I'm more confident than some other people, but obviously there are some steps that maybe we could all take to learn kindness. Would that be fair to say? Could you give us some insight onto what we could do to start doing this?
Sure. I think there are some really basic skills of kindness, and they're all pretty simple, but not necessarily easy. They take practice. The biggest one is learning to pause. Uh, eh, you know,
Ooh.
well, yeah, it really is, and it's so simple. But when we're in an interaction with someone, we tend, especially if it gets our hackles up or we feel threatened, we respond in sort of a knee-jerk fashion. If somebody says something rude to us, we throw it right back. But if we pause and think about who we want to be, think about the world we want to manifest, think about, maybe there's something else going on that made this person say that rude thing, or maybe I don't know everything here. That pause gives us the gift of grace. It gives us an opportunity to change the interaction. And even if the other person continues to be rude or defensive or whatever, we're still being who we want to be. So in a pause, just because somebody else is being a jerk, we don't have to be, if we pause and think about who we want to be. And that takes practice, because I think most of us, have that immediate response to an impulse, a nasty word or a situation. And instead we can just pause. And then that brings up another one, curiosity. In that pause, if we think about, maybe there's something I don't know. Maybe they didn't realize how their words would be interpreted, or maybe they're just having such a bad day. They just needed to have an escape valve, and I happen to be in front of them. Being curious gives us an opportunity to think the best of someone, to give the benefit of the doubt. And then that makes it so maybe we can turn our curiosity into kindness instead of distaste or anger. And then judgment, we talked about that a little bit already. If we withhold our judgments, social scientists say that when we meet people, we tend to make judgments about them really quickly. In 3 to 5 seconds, we decide whether we like this person, whether they're a good person. And we're doing it on very flimsy evidence. We're doing it on how they're dressed or how they talk, or, they're in our way in the dill pickle aisle of the grocery store or something like that. If we withhold that judgment and again, try to give people the benefit of the doubt, it's so much easier to be kind to them. So there are all these simple skills. Another one that this was sort of an aha for me, because I hadn't thought about it before, but just simply thinking about how often we keep score in our lives.
Ooh.
Yeah. We say things like, I emptied the dishwasher last time, it's your turn, honey, or we had them over for dinner, it's their turn to we're all guilty of it, Anna. We all do it. But it sort of drains the joy out of our relationships. And if we can stop ourselves when we do that, um, most relationships, friendships or family relationships, they all balance out in the end. But we don't know what might be happening in somebody's life, so they can't reciprocate the invitation, or they don't have the energy to pick up the phone and call even though it's their turn. There's just so much more joy in our life if we stop keeping score.
Oh, 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 there is so much here to unpack. There is so much here to unpack. I really love what you're talking about, reflecting versus reacting, in the
Mm-hmm.
curiosity and the clarity. That is huge, and we hear it all the time, don't we?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And it's not something we're ever going to become perfect at, not doing those things. But the more we are aware of them and paying attention, there's another really good skill of kindness. Just
Mm.
noticing our reactions, our reflections, and noticing what's happening around us, not being so involved in our devices or in our own internal drama that we don't notice somebody who might need our help. Somebody behind us whose arms are full that we could hold the door for, or a car that's trying to merge. These simple kindnesses that they seem small, but they're really what the world is made up of. It's these micro kindnesses that we do for one another that are really easy to do, but they're also really easy not to do.
Mm.
And I think if we can be more aware and more intentional, we can just be surrounded by kindness.
It's really interesting when you're talking about intention, because we hear so much talk, especially now, about becoming mindful and about giving yourself in the morning, having a meditation practice. And in a way, you're saying kindness is a mindfulness, is an experience of the now. It's almost an ultimate way to experience the now.
I think that's a great way of putting it. Yes, yeah, it really is. It's it's a spiritual practice in a way.
Mm.
There's a quote by Robert Coran Morris that I love that says, "The way we live our lives is our spiritual practice. No more, no less, nothing but, nothing else." And
Wow.
yeah, I think if we think of it that way, think of, the choices we make through our day. Am I going to choose to extend myself a little and be kind, or am I going to be unkind, or am I going to just ignore and forget the opportunity and go in the other direction? We have choices all the time.
Hmm. So let's talk about these choices, because it's really easy to look at someone and say that person is not kind. So what talk to me about unkindness. What causes that?
I think fear is a real big barrier to kindness, and often causes us to be unkind. And it's because, we're afraid of the unknown, we're afraid of looking foolish, appearing weak. A lot of people, and I think it's beginning to change, but I think there was a time when people correlated kindness with weakness. They thought, "Oh, this person, they're a pushover. I can take advantage of them."
Mm.
And kindness isn't weakness. You can be a very strong person and still be kind, and you can stand up for your beliefs and stand up for other people. Uh, so I think that's one really important direction, and one big barrier. Uh, Being oblivious, just not noticing, can also get in the way. But I think mostly people are afraid of how they might be perceived.
Hmm. What?
Time is also one. I've had a lot of people, I've done a lot of talking about kindness over the last couple of years, and people often come up to me and say, I really want to be a kinder person, but I don't have time. I'm just so
Huh.
busy. And it's true. People are overscheduled, and they're overwhelmed, and they see kindness as something that's an add-on. I do it if it's convenient or if I have time for it. And I think if you can change the perception or the way you think about it a little bit, and not think of it as something that you do when it's convenient or when you have time for it, but if it's how you approach life, if your lens is through kindness, then time really isn't a factor. I started trying to look at kindness as my job. I mean, that's so going out of my way to help somebody, that's my job. And I don't mean job in the sense of drudgery. It's why I'm here. And I think
Hmm.
it's why most of us are here. If we really think about it, we're here to, what did Ram Dass say? We're all just walking each other home.
Hmm.
That's why we're here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm I'm interested in when you're talking, people. How do I word this? When you say they're oblivious, I wonder if it's because being kind is uncomfortable because of the lack of confidence, and we choose not to see because not seeing we see as easier.
I think that's probably true for a lot of people. I think that obliviousness extends to how we ourselves might benefit from it. We think of it as doing something for somebody else, when really the person who benefits most from extending a kindness is the person who does it, not the receiver.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much evidence of the benefits of kindness to us physically and emotionally. Uh, so I think it's probably just an awareness or a lack of awareness of not only why one would want to be kind, but how good it makes you feel.
Oh, well, this is great. So you said there are all of these physical benefits, and walk us through the benefits. Are there actual health benefits to being kind?
There are, and this was one of my ahas. I told you that I started a blog, and I didn't want to blog about, oh, today I gave $5 to the guy on the corner. I did not want to get into that sort of thing. And I'm sort of nerdy, Anna. So
Ooh, yes.
for me, taking a deep dive into kindness was also research. And
Mm-hmm.
in the last maybe dozen or so years, there's been a lot of research into kindness at major universities and research centers, and by psychologists and scientists, um, and they've shown that. Um, Experiencing kindness, and that means extending it, receiving it, even just witnessing kindness, um, it changes our chemistry. It produces in us the hormone oxytocin, which lowers
Mm.
our blood pressure, it reduces inflammation, it fights heart disease, it slows aging.
Ooh, I
And
like that.
yeah, yeah. Now, if only it would help us lose weight. That would be the miracle. But it reduces chronic pain. People who have been in chronic pain, if they experience kindness, any of those three ways, it reduces that pain. It increases our happiness. It's been shown to reduce depression. There's a wonderful study out of I think it's the University of British Columbia, that showed that kindness alleviated social anxiety. So for people who are very shy, even debilitatingly shy, experiencing kindness helps them get over that social anxiety. So there's so
Wow.
many things. We sleep better, we're more creative, feel less stress. There's even a study that's come out in the last year that shows that kind people are more attractive to potential life partners. So, there's so many reasons for us to be kind. You would think that we should just be swimming in it. But again, there are these barriers, there are things that get in the way. And then,
That's
in addition to all the health benefits, there's been a lot of study about kindness in the business world. And that, as a person who came out of the business world, that was just a real eye opener for me, that businesses with kind cultures are more profitable, they're more productive, they have much happier employees who are more inclined to stick around. There's less turnover, there's even less absenteeism, and the culture of the workplace is more innovative and creative, and there's better teamwork. So all of these factors just, I think we're going to start seeing a resurgence of kindness as more and more people recognize that it's not just something that sounds good. It really has quantifiable benefits. I think one of the problems right now is, this is also something science has researched, both unkindness and kindness are contagious. Just like the cold or a flu or COVID.
It's a social disease.
It's, yeah, if we experience it, we're more likely to get it and act in that way. So we have a choice of which contagion we want to spread. Do we want to spread, unkindness and impatience and intolerance? Or do we want to spread, understanding and compassion? And that's where we get back to that idea of choice. If I go into every interaction or every meeting and think about, what contagion do I want to spread here? I want to choose kindness, and I hope as more of us become aware of the fact that our actions influence other people's actions, maybe we'll choose more thoughtfully.
I'm really interested in the neurochemistry you talked about too, because it sounds like to me, kindness is the antidote to stress.
Oh,
All of the
yeah.
things the stress system puts out.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it moderates your cortisol outputs, and that would enable you to sleep better. This is incredible, actually. Stop
Yeah.
the breakdown of your system. Oh my goodness, the implications are insane.
They really are. It's, it's sort of a wonder drug.
So here's the question. So I decide this is amazing. I'm going to use this as a way to help me impact my environment and balance myself and my social meditation, if you will. And what we experience when we change, and we've all done this, is that our environment kicks back and says, who are you to change?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some suggestions you might make?
And that's a wonderful question, because it's so true. Anybody who's ever started a diet knows that after a day, you go back to the way you were. And I think that's a good analogy, because I think if you start where you are and maybe say, today I'm going to try to be 5% kinder or 10% kinder, and think about what that looks like. You don't have to, none of us are ever going to go from being our, self-absorbed, oblivious selves to becoming Mother Teresa. You can't make that switch, but you can say, what would 10% kinder look like? And maybe that means I greet my coworkers, or I write a thank you note to somebody, or when I'm driving, I'm a little bit more courteous and I allow cars to merge and stop for pedestrians.
That might be too far. No.
They're little things, but you think about, what can I do to be just a little bit kinder? And then you practice that for a week. And then you see how good that makes you feel. And then maybe the next week you say, well, let's add another 5% in and see what that feels like. And maybe I'll take a risk this time. Maybe I'll go out of my way to interact with somebody who I wouldn't have before, or something like that. But yeah, I think the important thing is probably to do it incrementally. For me, and I don't know if this is true of everyone, whenever I have made successful change in my life, it's when I do it very incrementally. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like a little bit more this way, I'll do a little bit more, a little bit more. And then suddenly I look back and say, how did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly there's been this transformation that I didn't really notice because I was doing it so gradually.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's how most of us do make major changes in our
Mm-hmm.
lives.
I was reading about this actually, not even probably 2 days ago, where the author was suggesting that if you want to learn how to exercise, start by just standing on your treadmill. You don't even have to do any. Stand on your treadmill and then tomorrow take one step. And that will actually wire your brain for success. You don't have to
Yeah.
do it all at once. I love micro. Go for it.
Exactly, exactly. And I think a lot of us don't do things like that, whether it's related to exercise or kindness or something else, because we think it's too puny. How could something
Mm-hmm.
that puny make a difference? Well, that's really all those puny things do add up and they make such a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And they make a difference in other people's lives too. We don't know how holding a door for somebody or doing something that to us may seem so small, that might have been just what they needed to make their day or to help them and do a kindness to somebody else that might be a little bit bigger. We just don't know how far that ripples out, and that unawareness is actually a good thing because it makes us want to experiment with it and see, maybe think about the fact that, maybe this little kindness that I extend could end up being a big kindness, sort of the butterfly effect.
Mm-hmm. Which is an interesting concept because one of the other topics that is commonly discussed when you're talking neuroscience or habits or brain is that celebration, that celebrating your wins, celebrating how
Mm.
far you've come. And if you look at what the ripple effects could be, that is like celebrations,
It
constant celebrations.
is. I love that. That's a great way to look at it. Yes. And I think that gets back into the mindfulness that you were talking about of being aware that any action we take has a reaction somewhere. And if we're putting our energy on the side of positive, in the long run, that's going to change things.
Mhm. And I love what you're talking about, where we put our energy. Another topic that's really in line with what we're talking about right now is the self-love movement and bringing that energy and those celebrations to ourselves. Because as you just
Mhm.
said, it can be rough. It can be rough. And there's a
Sure.
lot of pressure societally to have bigger goals and more goals and to keep, and that can really impede our journeys.
Yeah. Well, I think to be kind, certainly to sustain kindness, it's got to start with us. If we can't be kind to ourselves, we're not going to be able to, in a sustained fashion, be kind to others. So I think there are a lot of people who might be really good at extending kindness to others, but they're not so good at receiving kindness or extending
Mm-hmm.
to themselves. Sometimes they feel like they don't deserve it or they don't have time for it or whatever. But we need to really look at it as a 360 process. If I can't be kind to myself, I'm not going to be able to extend my kindness to the world. It's that old, incredibly trite um, analogy that you hear when you hear from every motivational speaker, but also if you get on a plane, you know, put your oxygen mask on first. You really have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others.
So, what do you have your favorite piece of advice for people who are saying, well, yeah, that's great, and I understand the benefits, but I really suck at it?
Start where you are. Start small. Whatever you can do, and don't make judgments about yourself either. Have the intention. Go into an interaction thinking, I'm going to look for a way to be kind here, or a way to see somebody else's kindness. Just, yeah, start where you are, start small, and notice the difference it makes to you and to the people around you. I think
Mm-hmm.
it becomes sort of addictive after a while. You experience the benefits of kindness, and you want more and more of them.
So that celebration feedback.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I love it. Okay, I have one question I need to ask,
yeah.
which I love, and yes, I'm stealing this from Oprah. But if you had to go back and give yourself a piece of advice before you started your journey on kindness, what would it be?
Um, oh, that's an interesting question. What would it be if I had to go back and start my journey? I think it would probably be give myself some some slack. Don't be hard on myself for when I slip, when I say something snarky, or miss an opportunity to be kindness. Just, it's okay. Do the best you can, and don't worry about the fact that you're not perfect.
And especially since you wrote the book on kindness, I could feel that for sure, that you would have the pressure because you wrote it.
Yeah, but it's funny that you mentioned that. Um, when I started talking to agents and publishers about the book, they kept referring to it as a self-help book, and I didn't like that. It's that whole term self-help is kind of loaded, and there's
Mhm.
some wonderful self-help books out there. There are books that I love, and my shelves are full of some wonderful ones, but there are also some really icky ones. And
Mm.
I did not want to approach this as someone who said, I have found the path, and if you just do exactly what I do, you will get enlightenment or whatever. Um, those self-help books I don't think are helpful. And so
Oh.
the more I talk to my publisher and other people, I realized I can share my experience without saying, you have to do it exactly this way. So, what I've tried to do is present, here are some options, here are some choices for you. And you might like to go to focus on this, and maybe this doesn't fit for you, but customize your path to kindness. Don't say, I've got to do XYZ exactly as this author did or this person did. And that's what made it so I could embrace the self-help label a little bit.
That is awesome. Okay, for anyone watching this right now, what resources? I know you have some really great resources. You have your website, you have a download. Can you tell us a little bit about that so anyone who's watching this and wants to follow their journey can go?
Uh, yeah, please visit my website. It's ayearlivingkindly.com, and it has my blog as well as a lot of resources that people can help themselves to, and links to other places to go. Um, I have an author page on Facebook and Twitter, and
Mm-hmm.
I use those mostly to share memes about kindness, quotes. In fact, I think that's how you and
That
I
is.
connected. You saw one of my quotes from Viktor Frankl that I had shared, and I love making those. For me, social media has been sort of a two-edged sword.
Mm.
I was very resistant to even getting on it because of so much negativity. So I try to use it to share things that I hope will inspire people, and then to connect with other people who have positive messages.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being on today with me and for sharing all of this wisdom. Again, Donna's book is A Year of Living Kindly. It is available on Amazon, and probably, I'm assuming, Chapters, those types of stores will have it as well.
Yep.
Beautiful. And if you check in the links below, you will find links to everything she just talked about. You'll be able to connect with Donna and experience more of her work. Thanks again, Donna.
Thank you, Anna. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.